Welcome to our presentation, 7 team building activity mistakes and how to fix them. Just a couple of housekeeping items. This is a recorded presentation. It is not live, but there is a questions area of your screen that you should see. And if you feel inclined to ask any questions, they will come to me and I will contact you directly to answer any questions you have about the presentation. You can also take notes, but at another portion towards the end of the presentation, we will be giving you the option to download a PDF of everything that we're talking about here. So let's get started. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about why team building activities are vital to your business, especially right now. And of course, we're going to talk about the common team building activity mistakes, especially as it concerns your remote workers. Then we're going to give you some alternatives that work. And also, if you stick around to the end, we're going to give you a special bonus as a reward for watching to the end. So I hope you take us up on that. So let's get started on who we are. My name is Marty Hartman. I'm the general manager at Breakout IQ. We are a team building event company specializing in events for remote teams. We have hosted hundreds of teams and for our team building events, a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and tens of thousands of attendees. So I just wanted to show you, here's a screen this is just a partial list of some of the clients that we work with, have worked with, and continue to work with. And by all means, not a complete list, but we figure you'll recognize some of these names. And the only reason we show that to you is just to let you know we have been doing team building for remote teams for quite a while. So we think we have a little bit of experience to speak from. So let's talk about why team building activities for remote employees is important. And really the bottom line, team building activities are a vital component to increased employee engagement. Of course, everybody in the HR world is talking about employee engagement. That is a hot topic, and it should be a concern of yours as well if you have if you're managing a team, and we'll show you why here in just a second. One of the reasons why team building is important is because your remote team needs a connection. Cognizant found that 93% of Gen Z workers they feel it's very important at work to create personal connections. They have a very strong need to be part of something. They want to belong to something. And hopefully, if you are forging connections with your employees, they're going to feel like they belong to you and that they can adopt your mission and your culture. Now, jumping off from that last study from Cognizant about belonging, a recent global study of engagement from ADP Research shows that if employees consider themselves part of a team, they are twice as likely to be engaged in their work, which is great. More engagement in work, more productivity, more collaboration, and that's all things that you want to aim for. Gallup tells us that since before COVID-19, and I mentioned that's before COVID-19 pandemic, the decline in the percentage of engaged employees was evident across the three groups. And the three groups they're talking about are people who are working remote, hybrid teams, and people who are working exclusively on site. And so employee engagement is going down for all of those groups, but it's highest for those remote workers. So this is definitely something that you need to be aware of and be working on. Now, employee engagement is a big part of retention. Qualtrics says that turnover is at an all-time high, with only 69% of employees intending to stay with their current job. Think about that for a second. 69%, meaning almost a third of your employees are actively thinking about leaving or looking at job boards right now. And a good part of that is because they don't feel like they are part of your team. They don't feel connected. So the employee exodus can be reduced by 29% when employees are engaged and aligned with your culture. And a good way to do that is through team building activities. So back to Gallup again, disengaged employees equal lost productivity. And in a recent study, they have concluded that in the U.S. alone, that lost productivity due to those disengaged workers comes to about $605 billion in the U.S. alone. That's a huge cost that is being paid because your employees are not feeling engaged and feeling as though they're part of your team. So the bottom line is employee engagement is vital for your organization, and team building is a great way to enhance and increase employee engagement. And so team building is smart because you are increasing engagement and collaboration. And collaboration helps with productivity, and productivity increases profitability. But this isn't all just about numbers. You also have to remember that your employees are people, and increased engagement is also increasing employee well-being, their state of mind and how they feel about what they're doing with their job and their career and with you. And that team building can also decrease turnover, absenteeism, and safety incidents, which may or may not be as big of a problem with people who sit at their desk all day. But still, it's something worth mentioning. So let's get into the 7 team building activity mistakes and how you can remedy them. So let's talk about our first mistake, no preparation. So imagine, if you will, that you decide to wing it. You know that you can get along with your team. You can just plan a meeting, everybody get online, and we'll just do some team building. But if you're just sitting there in your Zoom call, staring at faces, and they're staring back at you, that doesn't work well. You need to find an activity or a project the team can work on together. It needs to be a structured event, not something that you just wing it. You also want to keep time in mind and make sure that the activity that you've chosen is going to fit within the period that you've set aside for it, because you are busy, all your team is busy. They've got things that they're doing, not only for their work, but also for the rest of the things that happen outside of work. So you want to make sure that you keep time constraints in mind. And of course, you also want to make sure that if you're doing a game or some type of a software that you're using for your activity, you want to test it first. Make sure that you try it out and see how it works. Don't let your team be the guinea pigs. The second mistake, no goal. So you want to start with the end in mind. What is it that you want to improve with your team? Is it morale? Do you want to get people out of the doldrums? Maybe you've got some difficult tasks or challenges within your company or your department. Maybe there was some high turnover. Team building is a great way to improve morale. Creating closer relationships, definitely a great goal to have. Developing team problem solving, another great goal. But these are all just suggestions. You want to come up with some goals that are going to work for you and your individual needs as a team. So our next mistake, no group engagement. You'd think this would be an obvious one. Teams and in team building, you would think, would require a group. But we often see a lot of activities that have been structured or planned are actually either single player activities, and in other words, they're not requiring in your activity for your individual team members to be working with others. And you also want to avoid passive activities such as just watching a movie or something like that. You want to make sure that you're looking for collaborative experiences that where the energy that's spent in working together and everybody bringing their different experiences and skills makes the team work better as a whole rather than individually. And you want to use your breakout features on your software, whether you're using Zoom or Teams, and that's going to help your bigger group be able to break down into smaller groups that are going to be much better for collaboration and teamwork. Mistake number 4, your activity is just not fun. We know that work is something that needs to be done, and work isn't always fun. But sometimes in your work, especially if you're collaborating closely with other members of the team, you can build a team ethos where everybody is learning the strengths of others, but that's not always the case. So building activities that are fun, that cause people to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, maybe try to do new activities that will help your teammates gain new perspectives on their coworkers. In a fun environment, that's going to be something that they will look forward to and actively participate. So you want to choose activities that highlight different skill sets. You want to add gamification, meaning put teams together, make it a point system, make it a little bit of a competition that's going to add some fun to the mix. And you want to make sure that the activity that you've chosen is challenging, so it's not boring, but you don't want it to be overly difficult to avoid frustration. Mistake number 5, one and done. Team building to be effective needs to be something that's done on a regular basis. And the reason for that is getting to know coworkers takes time. But the rewards are increased trust and collaboration, which is something that we all want in our jobs. So you want to get your employees into the habit of regular team building activities. So you're going to choose an interval that's best suited for you. Start with quarterly and maybe move to bi-monthly or monthly. But when you are doing these activities, try different activities. Don't do the same thing every time, because even if it was great the first time, okay, the second time, if you keep on doing the same activity over and over again, it's going to become something that people don't look forward to. So try to avoid that. Mistake number 6, neglecting relationship building. We have a lot of tools at our disposal that help us to get work done, but the tools that we're using, email or Slack or whatever you happen to be using, even though they may be great communication tools, they don't always help us to get to know our coworkers in a way that's not evident by their immediate job title or what they do day to day. So you want to look for activities that encourage sharing of interest and hobbies, maybe family details, because the more that people share about their lives and the more we realize that we have so much in common with each other, it makes it much easier to collaborate and trust one another. So these type of activities, you want to use prompts that will help guide conversations. Maybe questions that are posed in the group, and maybe using within a game itself, make sharing part of that gamification. You want to, again, use smaller breakouts to encourage sharing. It's difficult for people to share in front of a large group, but 20 or 30 or more. But if you break out your team into smaller groups, 4 or 5 or 6, it's much easier in those smaller environments for them to be able to to open up a little bit about who they are and what it is that makes them tick. And you want to make sure you switch those matchups so that you're not always having the same small teams talking with each other. You want to expose your team to every member of the team, and that helps definitely with them getting to understand and know each other. And as we talked about, collaboration and trust is built on that. Mistake number 7, not inclusive. So we're not necessarily talking about the typical inclusivity that you would get in your DEI training. Hopefully, your work environment is not having a problem with that. We're talking about some other things that may be a little bit more subtle as far as making people feel like they are outsiders. For example, you want to avoid activities that require specific knowledge. For example, you may be a huge Major League Baseball fan and you enjoy nothing more than trivia where you shout out answers to different stats. But if members of your team are not fans, or maybe not to the level you are, then that very activity is going to feel exclusive. They don't feel like they can participate. Another aspect of that would be culture. You, no doubt, if you're working with teammates all over the world, which is very common nowadays, you're going to be interacting with members of your team from different cultures that may not understand or have familiarity with, for example, pop culture in North America or the United States. So if you have a team building activity that's built on pop trivia, that's going to be exclusive and make people feel like they are outsiders. So watch out for that type of a thing. You want to avoid technical challenges like special software that you have to download or specific hardware. Maybe you want to do a game for your team building activity, but it's only available on Windows, so your Mac OS team members feel like they're left out. You might also want to consider bandwidth issues. Maybe some of your team are, maybe they don't have a high bandwidth situation, so you want to avoid activities that would require that. And also, on-site or on-site first activities. You want to avoid that as well. Very common right now in HR circles and working with hybrid teams to have a remote first concept with your communication, your training, and you should also consider that with your team building. So, for example, if you have maybe an activity that you're doing on site and you're either excluding your remote team completely or you are maybe just bringing them in as an afterthought, like maybe, okay, we're going to do this activity and we'll have our remote people just watch through a live stream or something like that. That's making people feel excluded, and you want to make sure that your activity is inclusive. So your formula for success, if we distill down all of these mistakes and what you can do to alleviate them, you want to design activities that are inclusive, novel, challenging to people, so that they will interact with each other in a deep manner within a well-designed experience flow. And that is actually the mission for Breakout IQ. You may be thinking, okay, some of these things, these are kind of challenging things to get over. I just don't have the time I need to put together all of these events in a way that is most beneficial to my team. We'd like to just propose to you the possibility of maybe letting Breakout IQ help you with that. And let me just quickly go through some of the reasons you might want to consider working with us with our events. Our events are inclusive and accessible. Our events don't require any prior knowledge or information. In fact, our trivia events don't require a specific knowledge of trivia. It's not like the typical bar trivia you would see where you know the answer or you don't. Our trivia is designed for collaboration and exploring together with your team so that they can problem solve together. We have significant variety. We have just a whole a whole slew of different activities that you can try with your team. And we also have relatable themes. I'm sure whether it's our trivia, our scavenger hunts, our breakout rooms, you'll find some themes that are going to resonate with your team. You'll find something that will be inclusive for everybody. All of our events are hosted by our trained staff, so they are trained to make sure that people are not feeling left out, that they are not feeling lost, and make sure that everybody is taken care of. And our events are engaging. They require critical thinking and creativity. So those are great ways to make sure that people are paying attention because actually they're fun. And they engage the whole team. Many of our events require multiple people to complete the challenge. So it really does foster a team effort, and that's what you're looking for in team building. So if you'd like to work with us, we have a proven track record, as we mentioned earlier, hundreds of repeat events with clients that you know, tens of thousands of attendees. We have hundreds of 5-star reviews. And to make it easier for you, we're going to offer you a promo code if this is you do decide to give us a try. Use the promo code No Mistake, and you'll get 15% off your first event with Breakout IQ. So these are just some of the hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews that we have. I just went through some of our recent reviews. These are pretty much standard, and if you go on the web, you can definitely see many more. But Carly B, super fun event, a repeat customer, and just thought it was great to have employees at several offices being able to get together. Lizzie, I thought this was a great one. Our Get to Know Me event, she and her team really loved it. She said her cheeks hurt by the end from smiling so much. And she said, I felt like I knew my coworkers pretty well, but this definitely pushed us to connect at a deeper level, which is exactly what we're trying to do with our events. Laura said it was a really great team building activity. As a new employee in a hybrid environment we are currently in, that's tough being in a hybrid group. I got to work with new faces from different cities. She loved our hosts. Alana had a great time, and it was a nice break for the team to compete in a friendly manner and have a lot to laugh about. And they actually were able to turn that team building event into a short meeting. We handed over controls, and our host left the event and let them continue on with their event. So this time I'd like to do a live demo. This is our webpage. If you go to breakoutiq.com, this is what you're going to see. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things here as you're navigating around. You can see our hosted team, our hosted virtual activities right here under this list. And you can see, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of different activities to choose from. Let's just try the virtual escape room here, for example. And once you get to each of these pages, you're going to find out more information. There'll be some videos that can walk you through to explain what the event is about, how it works. So a lot of information here for you. And on the event page, if you look here at the Book Now button, just click on that. And it's going to take you down to our booking tool, and you'll be able to book an event right there. Now, if you feel like you need more information, just click this Contact Us button here, and we'll be able to contact you once you fill this out with any of the questions you might have, and we'll be able to get back with you. You can also schedule a call, and if you do that, one of our team will be in touch with you, and through Zoom or phone, and we'll make sure that you get your questions answered. So hopefully that makes it a little less daunting to jump on our website and take a look at what we have to offer. But I want to also make sure you have an opportunity to hear more about our guarantee. If this doesn't remove any doubts of why you should work with us, I don't know what will. But if our event does not increase employee engagement, we will give you a 100% refund. Now, this is a conditional guarantee. We do not require your team's contact information when you sign up for an event. We give you a link, and you sign up. You send that link to all of your members, and they show up. We don't know their names or their contact information, but if you want the guarantee involved, we would need to have an attendee list. So we understand if that's something that's a disqualifier, but I just wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity, if you do want our guarantee, to take us up on that offer. We feel very confident about our events that we will be able to increase your employee engagement. I hope that was a helpful presentation for you and a good resource, and that you'll be able to apply some of the things that you've learned. You can book your event at breakoutiq.com. Make sure that you know about using the no mistake code when you book your event to get your 15% off. And if you do have any questions, you can either go to the contact form like I showed you, or just email me at marty@breakoutiq.com for answers to any of your questions. Hope to hear from you, and hope to work with you.